Hey everyone, you are getting really close to finishing up this project. This video is going to show you how to add sheets or pieces of paper to your project so that you can then place views on those sheets and eventually build your presentation packet to present for your final product. So with that, let's get started. We're going to go down into our project browser where we have the heading called Sheets. You'll right click on that. Go to New Sheet. What we're looking for is this 11 by 17K logo, which you're not going to have right away, so we need to load it. And the fastest way there would be just to click your Autodesk Revit extra folder. Go to this area, click the up arrow on the folder, up one level. Put you back in the Genota folder. And then we're going to go to the course Arch Design, Paper and Templates, and then 1117K logo, Arch Design. Double click on that or single click and open. And there it'll say it's doing an update to make it to the newest version of Revit, but now you have that piece of paper in this project, and when it is highlighted, we'll click OK. And there we go. There's the piece of paper for us to work. You'll notice in the project browser we now have a plus next to our sheets title because we have a single piece of paper. And yours will probably say A101 because I did a little practice one before I started the video. Now things on the paper, if you click once, it turns blue. Designer, for example, you can click on again and type your name. And then project name would be cabin is fine. The date is, you can change that as well, but it should be defaulted to the date that you entered it. And the only one that's weird down here, approved and checker. They're just two random words I picked. And what it is in the sheet, if I pull over the main packet here, you'll see that the cover page is sheet 1 of 10. The next page is sheet 2 of 10. 3 of 10, and so on, and these A101 numbers, A102, A103, we're just going to make them all match. Just slide that back off. So approver just be 1, and checker will always be 10. And on the first page, for example, we want A901. Capital A 9.01. Now the letters and numbers all mean certain things. A is for architecture, so it's more of the design phase, the conceptual design. 9 means 3D views. When you get into like floor plans, we'll see A1, architectural, 1 is a floor plan, and so on and so on, and we can talk about that more later. So there we got a few updates. Now really you could just sit here, right click, new sheet, still highlighted, click OK, right click, new sheet, OK, and so on until you have all 10 of your sheets loaded right away. So go ahead and do that. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 10 if I can count right. 1, 2, 3. Well, and it counts for me right there on the screen. Isn't that convenient? Of course, they're all A9s right now, but don't worry about that. We can fix it later. So there, you have all the sheets of paper that you need for this project. A901 would be the cover page. So if I go back, I just double click on these sheets to jump back and forth between them. So if I double click on that one, it jumps me back to that sheet. And I want to put my aerial view of the property, for example, on this one. And the easiest thing to do is really just use your 3D view. But here's the thing, if I drag and drop that 3D view, that's how you put sheet or views on sheets of paper. You literally left click, hold, let go on the paper, and it looks like nothing's there, but if you zoom out, you can see the window, place it, And there it is. Now, two things. Obviously, it's way too big, and I'm going to show you how to fix that in a second. But if I put this permanently on the sheet of paper and then I want to just use my default 3D view to, you know what, I want to look at it from this side. And I go back to the paper, oh, it turned on me. So what I want to do is set up a 3D view that's permanent for the cover page. Back to my home angle, rotate a little bit down. I think that just looks better. And I'm going to right click on this view of 3D with the brackets and duplicate the view with detailing. And then I can right click and rename it and just call it cover page or 3D cover page. There. Now this becomes its own view and I can just get it, you know, situated just how I want and then not worry about it changing later. So now let me go back to that sheet of paper. And this is still using, I can tell over in the project browser, it is still looking at the original 3D. So I'm going to highlight it once and delete key. Or I will click on it once in here and delete key. That works better. Now that doesn't delete it from the project, it just deletes it from this sheet of paper. And now I can re-drag my new 3D view over, place it. Okay, and it's way too big, so I'm going to go back and change the scale on this view. So I'll go back to the cover page here, and I'm going to say something more like 1 inch equals 20 feet is just my guess here. Go back to the sheet of paper, looking better, in fact looking pretty good. And you'll see now that you can drag that view around and resituate it on the paper. You can also use arrow keys on the keyboard to move your views around. Sometimes that's easier. And you can see I have this title bar that's sticking way off the sheet. And this one's kind of goofy. You got to click one time on the view, and then you get a blue dot, and now you can left click and drag this way back. Now if you ever need to move this little title bar, while nothing is highlighted, you left click and hold on them, and that's how you can move those around. But to change the length of that little title bar, you have to click one time on the view, get the blue dot, and then it is adjustable after that. And usually I like to see those extend just a little bit past the title of the view itself. All right, sheet 1 is pretty much done, or it is done, it looks like. Sheet 2 would be site plans. So I go into sheet 2 here, and I can, you know, it might not be a bad thing to just rename your sheets right away. I see an A101 right there. Sorry, I'm just looking over at my other screen for a second. A1.01, enter. And Revit will also sort the sheets of paper by their A number classification. So don't worry that they're out of order here. After we print them, we'll put them in the order that we want and staple it. And this would be page 2 of 10. Designer. This should be your name, of course. And the cabin's already there. So some of it transferred over, but not all of it. Kind of weird. But site plan, for example, now. Let's find the site plan in our floor plans. There it is. There's site. Drag it over. Click to place. And slide it down near the edge of the border. So what we have on our sheet of paper, and I don't believe I said this, this very outer rectangle represents the very edge of the paper. This inner rectangle with round corners is our border or margin that actually gets printed. So this does not print. This is just the sheet of paper. This does print, so this is what we're trying to stay within. And we don't want our titles, for example, off, so I would drag and move that up. Click one time on it to get that blue dot back, drag that across. And looking over at the site plan on the other screen, I can see I took all the elevation blocks off here. That's what these blocks with arrows are. These are the views that represent the elevation. So I can shut them off by If I go back to that view, site plan, I could right click on one, hide in view, the category. That's the easiest way to get rid of them. And then go back to my second sheet of paper. Well, I guess it's back A101. And they're all gone here as well. Now, if you have only a few tabs up across the top, it's a little easier to jump back and forth, but you know, just keep double clicking to jump back and forth. Okay, so that's looking good there. And then on the site plan, we also want an elevation view that shows the hill, the house, the trees from the side. And on mine, it happens to be the south view, so I'm going to jump to the south elevation view. And there's my house and my trees. Turn this back to realistic. There we go. To save some time, I'm not going to worry about, just hide the levels that you don't need, and you guys can clean this up a little bit more to match. Saving some time on the video here. Go back to my sheet of paper. South view, I want to drag over and place that, and whoa, it's way too big. But once again, our view is wrong. Now there is a little trick. If you double click inside a view, it's like you're jumping into that view, and you can now work on it. And I can change my scale then right here, instead of having to go back to the actual view. 1 inch equals 20 feet. Oh, there it is. Sorry. And then I can double click outside the view. What it is, it's when you're double clicking, see this box that shows up? When I double click inside the box, I jump in that view to activate and work on it. But then I have to remember where that box was about, so I can double click outside the box to then go back to the sheet of paper. And now I can click on it one time, drag this around. And I'm not trying to align it by labels, I want to align it by the ground. There we go. And then click off. Click on it one time, I guess, though, to get that title bar way back. There we go. And it's a little bit crowded in there. So I'm going to just grab that and move it off to the side. And I'll probably move this one too so they match. There we go. And what I'm looking for in this view is that the hills line up, the trees line up, the house lines up. So just so I have that top view to side view orientation to compare. And also, like I said, go in here and hide the levels we don't need and stagger them so that they're a little bit easier to read. Moving on, sheet 3. So I'm just going down and picking a blank one here to be sheet 3. 3 of 10. This is going to be A1.02. Click off. And this is going to be the floor plan. So I scroll up here. Floor plans, main floor, dimensions. Should have a duplicate view by now. If you don't, you can always right click, duplicate a view with detailing. And what you want to do is create a view that is just going to be for presenting. So if I go into that view, I'm going to clean this view up. So right away I know I don't need the topo solid here, and I think that got added when we created it. So either right click on the edge of it and hide it, or just VV, scroll down, topo solids, hit OK, they're gone. Zoom out a little bit here. Now I could try to go through and hide the plants, and if I have plants up close to the house, you probably will have to. But I can also just turn on the crop box. That's the little crop with the light bulb. And now I can just use this box to crop out as much as I possibly can right away. That, you know, for sure gets rid of the property lines. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Now, this is a temporary model. I may or may not have everything in here, so please reference the final drawings and not just look at this. Section views. I do need this one, so I can't just right click and hide and view the category because that would hide the one I want. So I have to hide and view the element to hide that one. Hide and view element. And I can crop this box down a little bit more perhaps. And when I'm happy with what I have, I turn that box off and I have a nice clean view of my floor plan with dimensions. Let's go back to that sheet of paper. A102, go up here, main floor plan, dimensions, left click, hold, release, left click to place, and click off to see what I have. And that's looking pretty good. My title has to be moved because it's off the paper. I gotta click on the view one time to get that blue dot to shorten that up, click back off, and there we go. And if you're having problems with dimensions not fitting, you'd have to go back in and try to squish them together a little bit closer probably. Or if you put a deck or a patio off the bottom, if it fits within the borderline, it's okay, probably. If it's hanging off, you might have to right click and hide that as well, just to clean it up for this. Now some other things, I could keep going on every sheet, but I hope you get the idea. You go to a sheet, you drag the view over that you want. The cropping thing gets a little bit trickier, like on some of these views, like east, west, north, south, because what we're going to do here is, right, we want to see just the house. But the problem is I already used one of these views for that site view, so we need to duplicate that one too. And that was, if I go back and look, right here, the south view. So I know for sure I need another south view because I don't want to mess with this one. So I'm going to jump back to my elevations. There's south. I'm going to right click, duplicate view with detailing. And I might actually rename the one for the site is the one I'll rename. So I'll go south dash site. And the one that says copy now, I can rename so it doesn't say copy anymore. There we go. Let's go to a sheet of paper. And here's a blank sheet, and I'm just going to skip ahead here. So we need to drag our views on. And here's the thing, that you click and it's huge, right? So again, if you know to double click inside the box, you can change this to the scale you need, which is 3/16 equals a foot. Also, it's mostly because we just got to hide a bunch of stuff. So I could go to the edge of my topo solid, hide in view category. We are not hiding all the levels, so you have to again kind of carefully go through and only hide what you need, but we don't need any trees in this one. Hide in view category. Yep, and then a bunch of these down here. Should be able to right click, hide in view elements. That way you can group select and hide a bunch of things at once. We just need, I have a landscaping level on there which we could add, but then let's see here. Don't need these. Right click, hide in view elements. There's our main floor. Drag that back over. There we go. And rough. And landscaping, that one really needs to get changed. But so don't worry if you don't have a landscaping level. Main floor, roof is the two I want in there. We're almost done, but we still can see our basement. So what we're going to do is turn our crop box on. So that way we can raise this up a little bit below the windows, which I know you wouldn't see if the topo solid was there, but some of what we're doing here is so I can check your models. And then when I'm all done editing this view, I got to double click outside the box. Oh, except I got to remember to go back in there. So double click back inside, because I got to shut that little crop box back off, then double click outside of it. And then I can move it around finally. So it gets a little bit goofy. It takes a little bit to get a hang of how you can click inside to activate and click outside to get rid of it. Let's put that title up there, right underneath it. Click once on the view. Pull that back. There we go. And then now I'll just keep moving my north, south, and west elevations on at different scale. Note, if I bring this back over, see, they use a smaller scale. That's why they all fit on here. Only the top one has a bigger scale. What else on here? Area plans, section view. If the section view doesn't fit top to bottom, you may have to squish these views together a little bit tighter. Schedules, they just drag and drop from the project browser as well. If I go to another blank sheet of paper, find my schedules, door schedule, bring it over, drop it. Now here's a big thing. I am picky about this. I don't like it when the rows wrap. It's hard to read these titles like that. So I'm real picky that you take these little arrows there and drag them wider so that everything's in one nice neat row. But then click on it once, and this just drags around as well. Very easy to move and manipulate. That's the schedule. I'll show you the section view too, just to make sure. Section view, typical wall section, drag it over. And it all fits, that's good. If it wasn't fitting, I would go back inside of there. Maybe I need to crop that down a little bit more so there's more room there. Or I would need to crop this out a little bit more and then drag the views closer together, but don't let them touch. Yes, I know I'm missing the break symbol, but this is just a, like I said, this wasn't quite the finished model I was using before. Light bulb that off, double click outside of where that box was. That way you go back to the sheet of paper. And so on and so on. So hopefully that helps. Sorry it's a little bit longer than it probably had to be, but just wanted to show a few of the views so that I could probably answer some common questions that there would be. And of course, please ask me in person for anything else at the moment until this video gets done a little bit more thoroughly. Thanks and hope it goes well.